Good morning, everyone. I come from Malawi, a country now well known with a historical path of amending its constitution and raising the legal marriage age from 15 to 18. Child marriage has been a crisis for African countries and other developing countries for a very long time, and girl children have been raised and actually as brides. And this situation has been normalized in our communities. We do not question such type of culture and traditions. As young girls, as we were growing up, we saw marriage as the only hope for a secured future, just because we have been raised as brides and not as agents of change. We never really questioned all these culture, the values, the norms, and how such culture affected our daily lives, not until recently. And even though this has been the case, we were able to see the physical and psychological harm child marriage has on the lives of girl children. And when I look at child marriage, people will love to quote it as child marriage, but on my personal perspective, it is child abuse. I have personally witnessed in my own family, my family members being married off, my classmates being married off as well, as young as the age of 10, 11. And on my personal story, my own sister was married off at the age of 11. And this was a wake-up call for me to look at a life in a very different way. Traditions, norms and values, and social attitudes are what fuel child marriage cases in African context, including across the globe. As I have already highlighted, we have extreme cases where 10-year-olds can be married off. And it's really traumatizing to be in the shoes of these little girls as young as 10. I want us to imagine the time we were 10 years old and actually just look at your daughters. If you have a daughter at the age of 11, what has her life been? It's really traumatizing. And the extreme is that they go at the initiation camps at puberty stage. And then at the initiation camps, they learn different traditions. I know I love traditions. They're beautiful. The diversity in traditions is what makes us what we are. But the negative traditions that the girls have to go through cannot be tolerated. In my country, girls as young as 10, they are supposed to go to the initiation camps. And it is at these initiation camps where at the age of 9, they learn how to be, they learn more about motherhood. And they also learn about sexual satisfaction of a man. So imagine this little girl being taught all those philosophies about life, but life is more than satisfying a man sexually. And they have to go through a cleansing ritual where a man who is hired by the community goes to these initiation camps and sleeps with a girl in a tradition called sexual cleansing, like making them, it's more of like transferring them from being young and then going into an adult stage. And this is a tradition that does not only happen in Malawi, it also happens in other African countries. And think of the trauma that they go through, because this sexual cleansing, they call it sexual cleansing, but in actual sense, it's rape. And imagine each and every girl who goes to the camp has to go through this. And they strongly want not to speak about it, as you know what they say, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Many girls suffer in silence. This is what, on a personal note, made me angry. And I asked myself a lot of questions. Why should girls suffer in silence? Why should her life be decided on her behalf by someone else? Why can't girls and women across the globe speak out. And when we look at we were talking about democracy. How can we talk about democracy when more than half of the population does not participate about social economics or political issues? Why should girls and women be left behind? Changing tradition practices is a hard thing. It wasn't easy to stand boldly in front of the traditional leaders to change about the traditions that I have spoken about. And mind you, we were just a bunch of little girls standing in front of the traditional leaders. And traditionally, in an African aspect, girls are not raised as readers. And we are more of like recipients. And when we were there standing up in front of traditional leaders, they looked at us and undermined us. But we became vocal because I believe in working together with a collective voice. We were able to challenge how and convince the traditional leaders to change some of the traditional practices, especially the sexual cleansing ritual and other social attitudes of devaluing girl children and raising girls as brides. And when our traditional leaders agreed to change some of the traditional practices, I became more and more confident and motivated that change is possible. And I started to believe that this is the moment where young people can actually speak about the challenges that they face every day. And this was the moment I became bold for change, even though I was such a little tiny girl. And I believe that this is the generation that will raise powerful weapons for a social, inclusive society, because I believe that no woman from our generation will raise her child as a bride. And I believe that young girls will be able to unleash their potential and become productive and valued citizens in my country and across the world altogether. In Malawi, as I have already highlighted, the legal marriage age was 15. We thought that the law has to change. And this was a change. It was very hard because we were just young people and then talking about roles and policies and things like that. But then we were able to advocate and our voice as young people, and I personally became unstoppable, and that's why I said sometimes people refer to me as a fireball, because I believe that my voice was able to change the things that were happening in my country. And we were able to fight for the legal marriage age raised from 15 to 18. Right now, in our constitution, 18 is the legal marriage age. We advocated also for the constitutional amendment. We lined up several activities, and our activities were mainly supported by local and international partners. And I played a very huge role in all these campaigns. And at national level, I was the youth president, and this was a very active role for me to run back and forth and meet different people to make sure that we hold our duty bearers accountable. And through our campaign, we lobbied different stakeholders. We came up with different forums to share and engage to support us, and including the support of so many people, and some of them, they are in this room. And we organized a big walk to the capital. It was a very interesting activity, and we had all these young people lined up, and we were heading to the capital so that we speak about the need that as young people, we need, our voice needs to be heard everywhere, and everything that concerns us needs to be taken accountable. And we also had a national youth conference, and it is at this national youth conference we're able to gather different voices of young people, because I believe that everyone, when it comes to democracy, everyone has to participate, including the victims themselves. They need to speak out, and this is why we had the youth conference, so that the youth voice becomes the strong force for this change. And we launched a 1 million signature where the parents were actually pledging that we will not marry off our daughters before the age of 18 or before they complete their education. And we met the first lady of the country, who is also our goodwill ambassador for this work to end child marriages. And to increase our popularity, we also involved the traditional leaders, because these traditional leaders are the law custodians. If we leave them behind, then when it comes to traditions, things will not change. And they were a part of our campaign, and we actually involved them to write a letter to the president of Malawi to make sure that the amendment bill has to be signed. And we actually, when I'm speaking, it sounds so easy, but then it wasn't an easy path. We really made so many challenges, because when we were speaking to the members of parliament, at first they were fine. They're like, oh, a 15-year-old girl, she's all grown up. You know how you women age? By the time you're 25, you're already aged. So it's actually better for you girls to be married, to get married before you age out. And even though we received such kind of feedback, we never allowed anyone to pull us down. And through our campaign, it took actually more than 5 years to make this work. So I believe as advocates, we don't have to look at time and say, maybe I have to stop doing this. We have to continue doing our work, even though some of these things will take a long time. When we actually passed the constitutional amendment bill, to our surprise last year, I remember it was the 14th of February. It was actually our Valentine's gift. This was the day that the members of parliament gathered and passed the amendment, and in the constitution, and then in the act itself, they removed all the contradictory definitions of who is a child. And automatically, through the amendment of the constitution, it raised the legal marriage age and other issues. It cross-cut issues of trafficking. They were all included. And actually changing a constitution is a huge change for us because this is the greatest start of all time. I was blown away by how quickly our government responded through our constitutional amendment process. I am so proud that I worked on this, and we had a very big team, and I am so proud to be a part of the team that has brought all these changes in my country. Since then, women and girls in 16 other countries like Guatemala, Tanzania have followed the same path and have passed ban on child marriages by raising the legal marriage age. And this began in Malawi. We have learned, on a personal level, I have learned that by working together, we can actually amplify voices and change the laws in our countries. And this year, Malawi is planning to hold a side event on ending child marriage at the UN Commission on Status of Women, just because we have worked on this. And it has given a platform to explore how other countries can work together to end child marriage globally. Now we are building a new foundation, and Foundation for Girls Leadership. It is our goal to promote girls' education and to empower them and to stand up for their rights in Malawi. And this movement is rising up and is going across. And I believe that through this movement, girls' voices will be heard everywhere around the world. And I believe that a lot has been done. And as I am standing here, I am so proud of the many successful turnout of our campaigns and our tireless activism work and everything. And it's so great that now the change that we have brought in, people have to understand globally that it is illegal to marry off young children. These are the future generation, and we need to embrace them. Thank you very much, and I believe that everyone in this room has a role to take, and you are the voices of girls and the lost voices of so many women across the world. Thank you.